Being the eldest learned Vedantist or Sutta Goswami, you are acquainted with the knowledge of Vyasadeva, the incarnation of Godhead, and you also know other sages who are fully versed in all kinds of physical and metaphysical knowledge. Purport. Srimad Bhagavatam is a natural commentation of Brahma Sutra or the Padarayani Vedanta Sutras. It is called natural because Vyasadeva is author of both the Vedanta Sutras and Srimad.
What does it say? Because Vyasadeva is?
Vyasadeva is author of both the Vedanta Sutra and Srimad Bhagavatam, or the essence of all Vedic literatures. Besides Vyasadeva, there are other sages who are the authors of 6 different philosophical systems, namely Gautama, Kanada, Kapila, Patanjali, Jaimini and Ashtavakra. Theism is explained completely in the Vedanta Sutra, whereas in other systems of philosophical speculations, practically no mention is given to the ultimate cause of all causes. One can sit on the Vyasasana only after being conversant in all systems of philosophy, so that one can present fully the theistic views of Bhagavatam in defiance of all other systems. Srila Sutta Goswami was the proper teacher, and therefore the sages of Naimisharanya elevated him to Vyasasana. Srila Vyasadeva is designated herein as the personality of Godhead because he is the authorized, empowered incarnation. Translation. Being the eldest learned Vedantist of Sutta Goswami, you are acquainted with the knowledge of Vyasadeva, who is the incarnation of Godhead, and you also know other sages who are fully well versed in all kinds of physical and metaphysical knowledge.
So, as in every verse and purport in Srila Prabhupada's books, in Shastra, there are so many points which are so important that they could be enunciated in great detail. Practically from every word we could write a book. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, that Krishna Tulya Bhagavat Vibhu Sarvashroy Prati Shloke Prati Akhare Nana Artha Koi. The Bhagavatam is comparable to Krishna in being all-powerful and the shelter of everyone and everything. And in every verse and every syllable there are various meanings implicit therein. So various important points here. You are acquainted with the Sutta Goswami is being addressed, he's being encouraged by the Shonakadi Rishi. Shonak, who's speaking on behalf of all the rishis. So they're presenting themselves that we want to hear, and we respect you as the proper person to speak, even though there are how many sages present at Naimisharanya?
60,000.
60,000, that's a lot, huh? You won't find 60,000. I mean, a gathering of 60,000 people is a lot at any place or any time. And even if you brought all the rishis in the world present today, you wouldn't get 60,000. I mean, how many members are there? Maybe if you say the members of the Krishna conscious movement, but then there's more than 60,000. So maybe in that way, you could say. But to get them all together at once, we haven't had such a big gathering. And they recognize that the sages at Naimisharanya, 60,000 of them, they recognize Sutta Goswami as the word's given here, Shreshta, the best. Srila Prabhupada translates that as the senior most. In the word-for-word translation. And in the verse translation, he says that you're the eldest learned Vedantist. So Sutta Goswami wasn't being invited to speak by Shonak Rishi simply because he was the oldest. simply to be old doesn't make one necessarily qualified to speak on transcendental knowledge. Respect is offered to elders, no doubt, but on other grounds also. Among the Shudras, according to Manu, respect is offered only on account of age, because they don't have knowledge and they don't have culture. But if they're older, then they may be, among themselves, they're respected, and even others may respect them also. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're disrespected, but special respect is given on account of good conduct, learning, austerity, and so on. Not necessarily just because of age. So Sutta Goswami has stated he's being encouraged by Shonak Rishi that in so many ways you are acquainted with the knowledge of Vyasadeva, that they're encouraging him, that we appreciate, we know what your qualities are, we appreciate that, we respect that, and therefore we want to listen to you. They weren't listening simply as a formality, but they recognize that here is an extremely qualified speaker, and we are very much, they will go on to say that we are very much eager to hear him, and their eagerness is not just out of curiosity, but they have some specific queries that they want to put to him, and they feel that he is the correct person to give them the answer. Why is that? Well, he's acquainted with the knowledge of Vyasadeva, and Vyasadeva is not just anyone, but he's the incarnation of Godhead. And he also knows other sages who are fully versed in all kinds of physical and metaphysical knowledge. He knows Vyasadeva, and he knows others also. So he's been in good association. If we associate with saintly people, we'll certainly learn many things, especially if they're fully versed in all kinds of physical and metaphysical knowledge. We'll learn many things. And we'll also become purified by their association. So Sutta Goswami, being elder, has had much association with great sages who are fully versed in all kinds of physical and metaphysical knowledge. So metaphysics is generally taken to mean the study of the non-material, or that which cannot be, of transcendence, that which cannot be empirically analyzed. It means the study of reality. How do things relate to each other? Or we would say Sambandha Gyan. In one place, in the 3rd chapter, Srila Prabhupada equates metaphysics, what Western scholars call, in the 3rd chapter of the 1st canto, Srila Prabhupada equates metaphysics, what the Western scholars call metaphysics, with the Sankhya philosophy spoken by Kapila Deva, which is actually an analysis of the material world and ultimately the spiritual existence within it. What are the Sankhya means to count, or counting. So the elements are the various elements of material existence, not elements according to the periodic table as found in chemistry, but the basic principles present in material nature. And then in Kapila Deva's Sankhya philosophy, there are 2 Kapila Devas. There was the personality of Godhead, Devahuti Putra, the son of Devahuti. That's why he was the first, the Supreme Lord. So Srila Prabhupada, his book, Teachings of Lord Kapila, which was actually compiled on Prabhupada's specific request that this series of lectures he had made on the teachings of Lord Kapila be compiled as a book. That was done after Srila Prabhupada's disappearance, and that is called, what is the full title of that book? Teachings of Lord Kapila?
The son of Devahuti.
Son of Devahuti, yeah. That's to distinguish him from Nirishva Kapila, who was someone who came later, and it's quite an impostor, because he spoke Sankhya philosophy also. And he also spoke it to a disciple called Asuri. This Kapila Dev, we don't have much information about Asuri. It doesn't mean he's a demon, but that's his name, Asuri. It's because it has a similar sound to Asura, it doesn't mean that he's a demon. So Kapila Dev spoke to Asuri, who the only other information I've seen about Asuri is he's mentioned here and there in the Bhagavatam. And in Garga Samhita there's a story of him. It's described how he was going to different places looking for the Lord. He didn't find him in Shvetadvipa, in this universe. He didn't find him in the spiritual world in Vaikuntha. He went to Goloka, he didn't find him there, and found him in Gokul. So anyway, the later Kapila came, or some impostor, and he also had a disciple called Asuri, and he spoke without he gave Sankhya philosophy without recognizing the place of the Supreme Lord, who is the source of everything, who holds everything together. So, Prabhupada had this book titled Teachings of Lord Kapila, Son of Devahuti, not the other one. So he spoke metaphysical knowledge, it said all kinds of physical and metaphysical knowledge. There should be knowledge of this world also, jnana vijnana. We find these terms often together in Bhagavad Gita. The two terms are put together. Can anyone think of a verse in Bhagavad Gita in which these two terms are used in the same verse? Yeah, that comes in the description of Brahmanas. That they have the natural quality of a Brahmana is to have knowledge and vijnana, which Srila Prabhupada translates as realized knowledge. The common translation is science. So we also find jnana vijnana chittatma kutasto vijitendra, the description of one who is fully satisfied and fixed by virtue of knowledge and realized knowledge. Then at the beginning of the 7th chapter, you got it. What is that? Jnana vijnana sahitam yajgatvana mokshasesha. I'll teach you this knowledge of which Srila Prabhupada translates the numinous, physical and numinous, by knowing which you will be relieved from all kinds of inauspiciousness. So these are often put together, that one, simply knowledge of transcendence, that may not be very helpful. We may not be able to realize that without knowledge of the present situation that we're in. How can we explain that to, or understand it without reference to what we presently observe? Shabda is accepted as the authority, the Vedic knowledge. But we can't even begin to understand that without reference to our present conceptual understanding. What do we see all around us? We can see this world. So the Vedic language that speaks of the spiritual world. It's the same language, whether it's Sanskrit or English or whatever the language is. The same words are used. The language can be used to describe the glories of material sense enjoyment. For those who believe in the glories of material sense enjoyment. And the same language is used to describe the glories of renouncing material sense enjoyment, and the same language is used to describe the glories of Krishna in the spiritual world. So there has to be the presentation of Vedic knowledge within this world is such that it has to recognize our present situation and then elevate us from that. The same language that we use for describing material things is used to raise us to spiritual consciousness. That is why Diksha is required. That gives the Diksha, or in what we call initiation, is also known as mantropadesha, or giving mantras and instruction in understanding these mantras. And who gives this mantra, he should be in what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur called a living source. That he should have realization of the mantra. Sutta Goswami, he had realization of Bhagavatam, and therefore he was able to convey the messages of the spiritual world and infuse the hearers, if they were capable of receiving it, with the spiritual consciousness by which they could understand this. Otherwise, unless one has this spiritual consciousness by which one can understand this, if his consciousness is rooted in this material world, then when we hear about the land and the trees and the people of Vrindavan, we'll take it to be just something material. We cannot conceive of or accept the spiritual position beyond material nature. Therefore, it's important to, or essential to understand the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita before entering into Krishna Lila. Because Bhagavad Gita differentiates between, it presents, here's the material. What is that material? Bhumirapo nalo vayu kangmano bhutiravacha. Ahankara iti angme bhina prakriti rashtada. The material world, everything material is made up of these 8 elements, which are Krishna's separated energy. And what's the next verse after that? Aparayamitas tvanyam. Beyond this, there is another nature. Prakritim vidhi me param, which is my superior nature. There is the soul. Jiva bhutang mahabahuya yedam dharyate jagat. This is the principle of this Devahuti Putra, Kapila, the principle of his Sankhya philosophy, is that above and beyond that is Krishna's superior nature, the jivas, by which the universe is, literally means held here or maintained, or the existence of the universe is maintained by the presence of all the jivas, who are the superior energy. And then we learn in Bhagavad Gita, Mamai Vangsho Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta, the same term is used, Sanatana. These jivas are all parts and parcels of Krishna. And Krishna points to the spiritual world. Tadhama paramam mama. He points to the spiritual world. That is the place where we actually belong, because everyone in this material world, jiva bhuta sanatanaha, manashashtanindriyani prakritisthani karshati. Although the jiva bhuta, the aggregate of jivas, all the jivas, they are Krishna's superior energy, but they are struggling in the material energy due to the situation of the mind, because they identify with this world. So this is the understanding given by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. There are many other misunderstandings which are present in the world, because it is man's natural tendency to try to explain or understand everything around him. The animals don't have this. The human being has a world view, or a conceptual construct of how he understands the world that may be very simple among primitive people. They don't have knowledge beyond thinking that, well, there are some various spirits that we have to this what they call animism. You have to propitiate various spirits. A more developed understanding is that there is spiritual dimension. Among these philosophers mentioned here in this verse, Gautam, Karnad, Kapila, Patanjali, Jaimini, and Ashtavakra, some are actually completely atheistic. They see the world simply as Karnad he sees the world simply as a combination of atoms. That's all. He's got an elaborate philosophical construct to attempt to show that everything is material. Jaimini also, with more sophisticated, but he sees the whole of reality is just concerned with enjoying the material world through the Vedic process, going to the heavenly planets, coming back, doing more sacrifices, going up again. Ashtavakra is Patanjali, they're spiritualists, but they don't present knowledge of the personality of Godhead. And even within the Vedanta system, there are two divisions, those who got it right and those who got it wrong. The Vaishnavas and the Mayavadis. So there are many different kinds of speculations about the nature of this world. Don't you know? And when you're book distributors, they go out, they find that all of a sudden when you meet people, all of a sudden they become a great philosopher. Isn't it? You meet so many people and they're just totally absorbed in material thoughts, but when you meet them, all of a sudden they become, they know the absolute truth, inside out, upside down. They have their no, I understand. It's actually like this. So many people with so many strange ideas all over the world. We find people who they know it all. Not everyone, but many people like that. They become an on-the-spot philosopher, although they're not really concerned with understanding the absolute truth, but they think they got it worked out. No, actually, life is just meant for enjoying. It's a philosophical statement. It's how they want to see the world, and they'll come out with some philosophy, and they don't even maybe understand that it's philosophy. The term philosophy applies to it, and it's a very crude philosophy. Everything's finished when you die, so you should just enjoy yourself now. It's actually a philosophical statement, although it's childish. You may say childish, but then there are whole systems of philosophy based on this childish outlook. Which system is that within India? No. Anyone? Prabhupada quotes, Rinam kritva gritang pibet, yavat jivet sukham jivet, bhasmi bhutasya dehasya king puna agavano bhavet. Charvak says that. He said, beg, borrow or steal, take ghee. Ghee it's nice to eat ghee. And don't worry about the future, because when you die, you get burned and that's it. It's all finished. So it's the same thing. We hear people say, when the body is finished, everything is finished. Prabhupada, he often quoted this Professor Kotovsky as being an example of a learned person who was fool number one, because he didn't understand the basic principle of spiritual understanding. So Srila Prabhupada writes here that one has to be completely conversant with all systems of philosophy to be qualified to sit on the Vyasasana, so that one can fully present the theistic views of the Bhagavatam in defiance of all other systems. Well, you may say, well, how is it possible to be conversant in all systems of philosophy? Because there's what is that? Nasa Rishya Yasya Matang Nabhinnam. Every Rishi has their own philosophy. It means there's thousands and thousands of philosophies. But they can be classified into generic groups. There's no new philosophy in the world. They're all whatever so-called new philosophies people come up with. It's all been discussed and presented previously. There's no new ideas. There may be just a little flavor presented in different language, but it's all basically the same bogus ideas in the name of philosophy have been eaten and regurgitated throughout the centuries. So actually, by studying Srila Prabhupada's books very carefully, one can become equipped, as Srila Prabhupada writes right in the preface. A very important statement. Okay, we'll get it to read it literally. Srila Prabhupada is talking about reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Simply by a careful reading, one will know God perfectly well, so much so that the reader will be sufficiently educated to defend himself from the onslaught of atheists. Over and above this, the reader will be able to convert others to accepting God as a concrete principle. So one becomes qualified actually by reading Prabhupada's books to meet all different kinds of philosophy. And of course the people we meet as we're out preaching here and there, distributing books, it's as you know, it's useless to get into so-called philosophical discussion with them, for almost all people, because they're not really interested in understanding philosophy. So Vijay Prabhu, he's on book distribution, that he knows the art of Actually, once people start talking philosophy, if you get involved with it, then it's very difficult to sell them a book. So he knows the art of deflecting them, so they'll take a book. I asked him once. He told me that I think he sent some report how he puts a book table up at the universities in America, and people come and buy books. And he wrote, I can't remember exactly, someone told him that some Christian came up to challenge him, and the Christian walked away 2 minutes later with a book, with the Bhagavad Gita. So that's pretty good, isn't it? Because you don't usually find challenging Christians buying books. So I asked Vijay, what did you say to him? And he said, Vijay Prabhu told me that, well, he said, oh, you're reading the Bible, that's good. I read it too. He said, but you know, there's always more to learn, isn't there? He said, the man said, yeah, that's true. He said, so why don't you take this and have a look? He said, okay. He instead of trying to argue with him and fight with him, he said, oh, you read the Bible? Oh, that's very good. And generally, you know, we don't try to defeat people when we're out on the street. It's just a waste of time. Just we can praise them. Whatever they say, that's good. That's good. I'm an atheist. Oh, that's good. You can say to them, that's good. That means you're a thinking person. That means you've seen through all the cheating in the name of religion. You're thinking about it. Most people don't even think, they're just sentimental. Have a look at this. This presents not exactly religion, but a philosophical understanding of reality beyond the cheating. You can show this. Completely rejecting all kinds of religious principles that are materially motivated. So you can say, if someone says, I'm a Satanist, you don't get many here, you don't get many anywhere, but you do get them. You can say, oh, that's good. That's good. It's not good at all to be a Satanist, but we can say that. That means you're not cheated by the educational system into believing that everything is simply going on by chance. You believe in a higher power. So like that, whatever they say, you can say, that's good. Of course, if they're saying, well, I'm feeling very depressed, you don't say that's good, but you can say, well, here's the cure. But if they challenge, or if someone says, I'm an atheist, that's immediately a challenge, isn't it? They're saying that they can see you've come with what they consider to be religious books. And say, or just like that, I'm a Christian. Say, oh, that's good. So it's good to find people who are in this materialistic age who are interested and still committed to understanding God. You can say like that. So like that, diffuse their inimical spirit and praise them. And you see here, Shaunak Rishi is praising Sutta Goswami, and of course he's not desiring mundane praise, but it encourages him that these people, they appreciate what I have to offer, so he'll be more enthusiastic to speak. If they said, oh, Sutta Goswami, we have to listen to you so that Vyasadeva can write it in the Bhagavatam, but, get it over as quick as you can. We want to go and have our meals. It's too, oh, Sutta Goswami, it's so boring. But anyway, all right. They don't say like that. They are actually enthusiastic to hear. That's the end of class. Huh? That's for the end of class. You put that? So like that, if people say, oh, I'm an atheist, and they expect to, they're looking for a fight if they say that. But if you encourage them, oh, that's right, and say, oh, really, this person appreciates. You didn't expect that. They don't expect that coming from you. They expect a fight. But if you say, oh, very good, that means you're a thoughtful person. You're not just So we don't believe in sentimental religion. We believe in scientific religion. Or they don't even use the word believe. They probably didn't like that word very much. All right, we'll finish there. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.